There is an objective in this charter that reads perfectly well and cannot be measured. It says support 20 newly promoted managers. That is the kind of line that gets approved every day. Nobody can tell you what finishing it looks like. We have a charter now with few gaps deliberately marked in it. What we do not have is any evidence that the objectives in it are sound. So in this part, we do two things. We ask ChatGPT to test the objectives against the standard. And then we ask it who we have left off the stakeholder list. The question for this prompt is straightforward. Your charter contains objectives. Are they any good? Most people never ask that question. The charter is approved. The objectives sit in the document sounding sensible, and nobody notices that they cannot be measured until the project closes and you are asked to prove that you can achieve them. And this prompt has no parts for you to fill in. It simply says, review the objectives you have just written, and for each one, decide whether it is genuinely specific and measurable. If it is not, rewrite it. Then give me a single sentence I would use to justify this project to a sponsor who is skeptical and who cares only about cost, benefit, and risk. You're asking ChatGPT to assess its own work, which sounds as though it will not be useful. It is useful because you have changed the task. It is no longer drafting. It is now reviewing. That is a different task, and it produces a different answer. It does not treat its own work gently. Look at the middle column. It says yes, 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 and then one entry says partly. The objective is support 20 newly promoted managers. That sounds like a reasonable objective. It is the kind of line that is approved every day, but it cannot be measured because the word support does not describe anything specific. What does completion look like? At what point do you know that you have achieved it? Here is its rewrite. Confirm attendance for 20 newly promoted managers by the 1st of November, with at least 18 of them attending both days of the workshop. That version can be tested. It contains a number, a date, and a minimum threshold. And notice that it did not only add words that sound measurable, it made a decision. 18 out of 20 is a judgment about how much dropout is acceptable. That judgment belongs to you, not to ChatGPT, so you either accept it or you change it. There is one more thing worth noticing. It stated its assumptions before the table. It is treating the words invited and confirmed as too weak. Unless the objective states what confirmed actually means and when. That assumption is the reason the rewrite contains a date. If you disagree with the assumption, the rewrite changes. On your own project, run this prompt against any objective containing the words improve, support, enhance, or optimize. Those words are where objectives that cannot be measured usually hide. The objectives are now sharper. Next, we identify who has an interest in this project, including the people who have not yet thought about it. The question is this: who has an interest in this project? And more usefully, who have I forgotten? The column you ask for are the stakeholder or role, what they care about, their influence, their level of interest, and how you'll engage them, and how often. That is a standard stakeholder register. But the instruction that makes this prompt worth running is the final one. After you have listed the people I have told you about, tell me who I have probably forgotten and who needs an owner. That instruction changes the task. Anyone can list the sponsor and the team. The register that is genuinely useful to you is the one containing the name you had not thought of. The expected entries come back as you would expect. The sponsor, the delegates, the line managers, the venue, and the suppliers. It is the second table that makes the 20 seconds worthwhile. It lists 5 entries. Look at what they have in common. A named deputy for the sponsor, so that approvals do not stop when one person is on leave. A named owner for the venue, because the venue contact is not a person. It is a shared mailbox, and the shared mailbox cannot make a decision. Someone who owns dietary and accessibility requirements, and who can collect them without exposing personal information unnecessarily. A finance approver, because the budget stops moving when the approval route is unclear, and someone who owns the evaluation after the workshop. Every one of those is a role rather than a person. That is the pattern. The gaps in a stakeholder register are rarely a whole department that was overlooked. They are responsibilities that exist on the project with nobody's name against them. There is a limit here that I want to be clear about. ChatGPT can tell you that the role is missing. It cannot tell you who should fill it. That part is your work, and it will take you an afternoon. On your own project, the 5 will be different, but the categories are usually the same. A deputy for decisions, a named owner for anything that currently points at a shared mailbox, someone responsible for sensitive personal data, someone who can approve expenditure, and someone who owns whatever evidence proves the project worked. We now have a charter, measurable objectives, and a stakeholder register. Initiating is complete. Next, we turn all of that into a plan you can actually work to.